I'm Maggie now. Welcome back to episode 20 of the RIP Reading is Phenomenal podcast. This is the last one we're going to have on James Comey, A Higher Loyalty. Say goodbye to James Comey. He's still alive. We're just not going to talk about him anymore after this podcast. So, again, we're continuing on with Trump and Russia. So, once again, Trump asked Comey to end, now he just wants him to end the Russia investigation. He's saying it's really a cloud hanging over his head. It's impeding on his ability to function as president to his maximum capacity. And Comey just responded that he was trying to move the investigation as quickly as possible. Trump again asked for another favor about Russia, asking that Comey get out the message that Trump was not being personally investigated. However, the FBI and DOJ, Department of Justice, didn't really want to make this whole entire thing, the entire investigation, public to the media. They didn't want to make it a huge thing. So when Trump called later and asked how Comey was doing and alerting the media that Trump wasn't under personal investigation about the whole Russia thing, Comey explained, the FBI and the Department of Justice's stance. And Trump was getting irritated, and he was starting to dislike Comey more and more for not doing what he wanted. Comey just said, talk to the DOJ about this. Don't talk to him about this. And Trump said that he would talk to the DOJ because Trump had been very, very loyal to Comey. And they had that thing, which Comey didn't know what Trump was talking about. However, it didn't really matter because this was the last talk Comey would have with Trump. Dun, dun, dun. Because weeks later, Trump would fire Comey without even contacting him about it and having Comey find out at an FBI diversity recruiting event over the TV. And this firing led to many of Comey's employees crying at him being fired, with a whole lot of wave of sadness coming in at his leaving. And I could really tell that, by this sadness of Comey leaving, that Comey, he did really try and apply all of the checklist characteristics of being of a great leader upon himself. He was honest, open-minded, patient, a good listener. Or at least that's how he explained himself through the book. And a lot of these virtues he had picked up through his meeting with so many great leaders, all the way from his teenage grocery store manager, Harry Howell, to the President of the United States, Barack Obama. And he had even learned what characteristics to avoid by analyzing poor leaders or just flaws in leaders. And to see his employees really respect him, just not even when he was leaving, which I feel like was very important, but also when we talked about earlier, when so many lawyers blindly followed him to John Ashcroft's hospital at midnight. And it just shows that Comey was a strong, passionate leader, and he had a higher loyalty, like the book says. He had a higher loyalty to truth, he had a higher loyalty to justice, and most of all, he had a higher loyalty to the American people. And he tried his best not to let his ego get in the way, his political stance get in the way, and throughout his career, start in the private sector and the public sector, he tried his best to do, all he could for the people he served. And I think that's really admirable. And from reading this book, I respect James Comey. And, sounds like he tried to, really display himself as a humorous guy that was open-minded. And not everybody would agree with that. And I should probably, read some other things about James Comey too, because I feel like a personal narrative about himself may not always be the most honest about himself. But I feel like he did really try and pick at himself a little bit in the book too. And also, brag about himself a little bit. But hey, you gotta do what you gotta do to sell a book. But that's just my overview of the book. And thanks for listening. I hope you had as great a time listening to this as I had talking about it. It's super cool. And we'll pick up our podcast with a different book. The suspense is real. Alright, have a great day. Woo!